What's going on, Packers Nation? Welcome back to another video of Packers Latest. I am your host, Taylor Bretl, keeping you up to date on the latest news of the green and gold Green Bay Packers. That latest news, yet another video with a Packers loss to talk about. The Packers on a 3-game losing streak. Things are not looking pretty. If you're new to the channel, I welcome you. Feel free to subscribe, leave a like, turn on a notification bell if you want to join the community of fans of the green and gold. And if you're a returner, I welcome you back as always. But let's start this one off with the coaching crisis that we have in Green Bay right now. There have been a lot of people calling for Matt LaFleur earlier in the season. Then he seemed to prove himself. Now things are starting to spiral. And Jeff Hafley, who very confident with, very comfortable with as the defensive coordinator for the Packers, not a pretty game, arguably one of his worst games, if not the worst game, while being the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, giving up 41 points to the Baltimore Ravens in the 41-24 loss on Saturday night. There's just lots to talk about here. I mean, I'm going to start with Hafley. Don't get me wrong. This Packers defense is as hurt as it can be almost. Hafley is playing with a lot of backups, a lot of new names, guys the Packers have to bring in, guys that are young on this Packers team that haven't played a snap. I mean, it's not like he has the full supporting cast that he had at the start of the season. Do not get me wrong with that. And Matt LaFleur, the same thing. The offense, definitely messy. Lots of guys hurt. This Packers team is filled with injuries, which we will talk about at the end of this episode. But 41 points to the Baltimore Ravens, and Derrick Henry getting, I don't know what his average yards per carry were on the night, but he had 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards on the ground. He was just torching the Packers. It felt like he'd get 7 to 8 yards per carry minimum every time he touched the football, especially on first down. How many like 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2s did the Ravens have after they just ran it straight up the middle with Derrick Henry? They just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. No adjustments made, and Derrick Henry ran right through the Green Bay Packers. He outscored the Packers himself, if you want to think of it that way. This defense for Green Bay, not pretty at all. I have tons of numbers, tons of stats here. Let's start off talking about the running game, which, I've already been talking about just a little bit. Actually, let's go to those 41 points that were given up. This is per Historic Packers on X, saying, this was tweeted after the game Saturday night, saying, tonight's loss marks just the 3rd time since 1984 the Packers have allowed 40 or more points at Lambeau Field, and that was the first time the Packers had done so since January 1st, 2012. Also, per Historic Packers on X, Derrick Henry's 216 rushing yards were the most by an opposing player in Lambeau Field history. So, a historic night for Derrick Henry. You have to give credit where credit is due. You can't just say, oh, he had a good game because the Packers were good. Derrick Henry's one of the best running backs in the league. Harbaugh actually played him the whole game. He didn't sit him for the whole 4th quarter like he did against the Patriots. I don't know what he was doing there. Derrick Henry put on a show, saved a lot of people in fantasy. If you had him on your championship lineup, you're probably sitting pretty right now and saving the Ravens season as they have something to play for. They're hoping for the Steelers to lose out. But nonetheless, we're talking about the Packers right now. Derrick Henry, great game, but we got to turn it onto the Packers and on this defense. You go more into the numbers. You look at the Packers, their yards allowed per game this season. Go to their last 5 games. They've allowed 315 or more yards per game. And over the last 3 games in that 3-game losing streak, they've allowed 390 plus yards per game. They allowed 414 to Baltimore in this loss. Just not pretty no matter where you look at it. Per StatMuse, again, I'm just ripping the stats on here, but I just got to keep feeding these on. Per StatMuse, the Ravens' 307 total rushing yards were the 4th most rushing yards in a single game in franchise history, because Tyler Huntley was doing very well on the heel-to-toe express himself. Lamar Jackson's their guy, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but Tyler Huntley also very mobile. Even being the backup, he was mobile. He looked comfortable in there, and he was playing very well for Baltimore. So again, 307 total rushing yards is what Baltimore had. They were just running through this Jeff Hafley in this Green Bay Packer defense. Nothing pretty you like to see there. We're going to go talking about the Packers in these last 3 games as well. The Packers have not punted once over these last 3 games, and they are 0-3. 8 other times a team hasn't punted in a game this season. Those teams are 8-0. 11 occurrences, 8-3 total record, the 3 losses, all the Packers. My gosh, does it get any worse than that? I mean, it's just everything that's lining up in the bad way feels like it's lining up. It's just nothing nothing is pretty. I mean, Matt LaFleur offense played pretty well, but some questionable calls. The Packers going for it on 4th and inches early in that game. They had a 3rd and 1 QB sneak that was awful, followed it up with a run to Jacobs up the middle that got plugged up on 4th and inches, and a turnover for the Packers. You go to the red zone. The Packers still struggling there. Cannot find the end zone when they're within the red zone. Don't get me wrong. They scored 24 points, but all those were out of the red zone. A deep strike from Malik Willis, a long run from Malik Willis. Like their red zone trips are so bad over these last 3 games. It's just nothing pretty. Nothing is working. I sound like a broken record, but honestly, this is just what we're seeing on the field. I mean, I can find more numbers, but I felt like those were the main ones to highlight. I mean, those are, for all the wrong reasons, those were the most fascinating ones to me. We're going to talk about Malik Willis, though. I mean, he was the positive in this game, despite the 41-24 loss. But with him looking great like he has looked when being in there for Green Bay, you can might as well just say bye-bye to Malik Willis. He is going to earn his worth. I would be shocked if the Packers bring him back, because how much are you going to pay a guy that could be a starter on some teams? Who knows if he's at that level yet, but definitely, this kind of felt like a game to prove himself if he could get that starter level contract. Maybe it's only a 2-year contract, but still a starter level contract nonetheless. And he definitely earned his rights to do so. So unlikely that he'll be back with the Packers, as he will be a free agent in the offseason. You go to Malik Willis on this game, though, and yeah, man, he played as good as he could. If Love was in there, if you even had Matthew Stafford, how he's playing this season, was in there, the Packers probably still losing this one because they gave up 41 points. You go to Malik Willis in this game, though, and just check out these numbers. Willis, his final stat line, 18 of 21, 288 passing yards, and 1 touchdown in the air. On the ground, he had 9 carries for 60 yards, as long as being 22 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Malik Willis, almost a perfect game, you could call it. I mean, 18 of 21. I remember one of those passes was a drop by Brooks, so could have been 19 to 21, but nonetheless, 18 to 21, 288 yards, 3 total touchdowns, and 60 yards on the ground. About as perfect as you can get. And again, still a 17-point loss despite that performance. Malik Willis did get hurt late in that game, though. He just threw a pass to the right side of the field about 10-15 yards for that first down and injured his shoulder. He did enter this game, battling that right shoulder injury. He got hurt against the Chicago Bears, landed on it pretty hard, was also battling an illness. Was this a Michael Jordan flu game? I don't know, but he was dealing with that right shoulder injury nonetheless. And he just kind of, he threw, didn't get hit or anything, and headed to the locker room, got it checked out, did jog back out on the field, but the game was already out of reach for Green Bay at that point in time. That they brought in Clayton Tune for the rest of the game, which that was an experience, to say the least. But talking about Malik Willis, because this is the topic that we're on, here's some stats that I found on X and other places as well. Pretty fascinating stuff for Malik Willis. Per Doug Clawson on X, says Malik Willis is the first quarterback since Michael Vick in 2002 to do all of the following in the first half of a game: complete every pass. Malik Willis was 8 for 8, I believe. Throw for 100 yards, have a pass touchdown, and have a rushing touchdown. Again, Malik Willis, just one of 2 quarterbacks to have all those checked off, Michael Vick being the other. Again, you get a little specific with the stats, maybe you're kind of nitpicking a couple things, but still, that is still fascinating nonetheless. You go to another one that Doug Clawson found as well. He just became the first quarterback in NFL history to hit all of these following marks in a game: 20 or more passing attempts, 85% completion percentage, 11 plus yards per attempt, and 50 plus rushing yards. That is pretty good. Again, Malik Willis definitely earning what could be a sizable contract in comparison to what he's getting now. Was traded for a 7th round pick and is getting paid backup money with the Packers. He could definitely be a name that swirls around free agency. Who knows who'll go for him? Will it be a team like the Dolphins, who might want to move on from Tua? Will it be a team like the Raiders, who might just give up on Geno Smith and kind of start over and eat that contract? Will it be an in-division rival like the Vikings? Maybe they're not too confident in J.J. McCarthy and they see Willis. Who knows? But unfortunately, it is unlikely that he will be back wearing green and gold. But Malik Willis has looked phenomenal for the Green Bay Packers. Like, truly one of the best games, that he could have had. Maybe he could have gone 21-21, but Willis doing everything right in that one. A very, very, very nice game for him, despite losing still by 17 points. But there were some negatives on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to turn it over to the running back room, specifically Josh Jacobs. Nowhere to be found against the Baltimore Ravens. He had 4 carries for just 3 yards, did not find the end zone. Derrick Henry had more touchdowns than Josh Jacobs had yards. You could view it that way on how the two running backs played against each other in this one. And don't get me wrong, Josh Jacobs is hurt, dealing with a knee injury, dealing with an ankle injury. 4 carries for 3 yards is a different story. And again, he was just getting plugged up. I know it's only 4 carries, but the Packers kind of shied away from the run in general. But you look at Emmanuel Wilson, he only had 3 carries, also a small sample size, but those went for 16 yards. Again, is Josh Jacobs just not finding the holes? Is Emmanuel Wilson getting them and Jacobs isn't? It's unlikely that that's lining up, pretty perfectly. Not sure what's going on there. Jacobs is hurt, and don't get me wrong, he's one of those guys that wants to play even if he's hurt, and LaFleur wants him to maybe sit back. He wants to play. I appreciate him wanting to play, but Jacobs, last game against the Bears, 12 carries, 36 yards. This game, 4 carries, 3 yards. And then they just kind of took him out. And they really just shied away from the run in general. Again, just, 7 carries among all running backs in that game for Green Bay. Malik Willis had the most carries on the team with 9. So don't get me wrong. They were shying away from the run in general. But when you have a guy with the talents of Josh Jacobs and you are shying away from him getting the football, it might be a Josh Jacobs thing. I don't know. Maybe we go to Matt LaFleur and maybe it's on him. Don't want to blame anyone, but don't really know who to blame. Not sure what's going on there, but the Packers really just went throw, and clearly it worked with how well Malik Willis was playing. But again, Josh Jacobs, 4 carries for 3 yards. That's about as bad as you can get. The Bears game, arguably his second worst game of the season. Maybe the one against the Browns was his worst. But those last 2 games, not pretty at all. Week 18, maybe Josh Jacobs can rest up, truly get healthy, and get ready for a playoff push. It's really unfortunate to see. He's definitely regressing, but we know what Jacobs can do. He's an explosive runner. He's one of the best running backs in the NFC. I'm not saying he's not good, but it's just concerning what the heck is happening when you have a talent like that and you're fine giving him the ball just 4 times in a game and losing that game by 17 points, that being a big reason. So, I don't know. Definitely a mess. Nothing pretty there, but again, I don't know what's going on with this offense. Again, maybe we go back to Matt LaFleur. Maybe it's the play calling. Who knows? But definitely tons of things that we're going to get into later in the week. But we are going to end off this episode, unfortunately, on another low note with 5 Packers injured in this Week 17 loss. And the Packers are already dealing with about every injury that you can imagine. It was very evident on that defense with how many things they were giving up. But don't get me wrong. I mean, for what the defense could have been based on the injury report, they were pretty healthy. They had guys in there that were kind of 50-50 going into that game. But then, it started to crumble. Guys getting hurt on both sides of the ball. Per Zach Cruz on X, he tracked all the Packers injuries tonight. Zane Anderson out for the game with an ankle injury. He got hurt early in that first quarter. Jordan Riley injured his Achilles, had to be carted off. That new addition for Green Bay a couple weeks back from the New York Giants, who is in there to be a run stopper. Clearly no running was being stopped tonight. Take Jordan Riley out. That doesn't help your case at all. Nate Hobbs re-injuring that knee, took a pretty brutal hit to it in the end zone. He was out for the game. I didn't really see this one when watching it. Dontavian Wicks with a concussion. Apparently he got a concussion in that one, and that ruled him out for the rest of the game. And then Kamal Hayden with a very, very, gruesome is the way the announcers, called it, a gruesome ankle injury. So all the thoughts go to him for that. He's had one heck of an NFL career kind of battling to stay on teams. Gets on the Packers 53-man roster, and it's just unfortunate how he went out. He got carted off. That was a big break in the game. So thoughts up for him and the rest of the guys. Again, 5 Packers injured in this game on top of what they already have. It is getting pretty thin. And who knows, maybe I can go out there on the depth chart. Maybe you might see my name next week. Who knows? But it is getting really thin for this Packers team, specifically defensively. Again, why you go to Halfley giving up 41 points. You can say that there are a lot of guys injured, but again, that's only to some extent. Lots of negatives in this episode. I apologize, not the most fun one to make, but you got to address what is right in front of you. The Packers on a 3-game losing streak. Will they try against the Vikings Week 18? Probably not. They're locked into that 7 seed, so why play anyone? It'll probably be Clayton Tune and whoever goes around them in that one. So I'm not trying to be negative, but I know the Vikings don't have anything to play for, but don't be shocked if the Packers enter the playoffs on a 4-game losing streak. Again, I'm not trying to be negative. That's just the reality. They're locked into that 7 seed. Now they don't have anything to play for. And they just got to look forward to the playoffs. They got to get guys healthy. I mean, even let's start with Malik Willis. Like, let's hope he's healthy. I know he jogged back out on the field and seemed like he'd be good to go. But again, tons of things the Packers have to get straight, from the coaching department to the running back to the health to whatever you want to call it. A 41-24 loss is not going to cut it. Lots of things to clean up. The Packers got 1 week left of the regular season, and they still have postseason play. So still tons of things to look forward to, but tons to clean up. I'll be back with a video tomorrow, and we will definitely take a deep dive into more of this news. But as always, despite a loss, despite a 3-game losing streak, we'll always say, go Pack, go.